Yo, what is going on everyone, and thank you for joining me for another manga chapter review. And in today's video, we're going to be going ahead and giving a review on the newly released My Hero Academia chapter 348, titled Unrequited Love. And before we jump into the video, guys, I just want to continue to say thank you and welcome to all the new and old subscribers. You guys are just amazing for helping grow the channel so quickly. If you guys do enjoy today's video and are into anime and manga as much as I am, please consider sticking around as well as subscribing, as it greatly helps the channel and further gathers like-minded people as well as growing the community. Now, with all that out of the way, guys, let's just go ahead and jump into the chapter already. Starting this hype chapter off, we begin with a third-person narrative perspective of Midoriya and his highly sought-after quirk, One for All, illustrating how he is the 9th user of One for All and that his current battle is more severe than any that he's had to undergo before. Also explaining how Toga's deep love and admiration for Midoriya is the main cause as to why his predecessor's Danger Sense quirk did not activate. Midoriya, now completely caught off guard to Toga's confession, asks Toga, "What are you talking about?" Toga replies by telling Midoriya her love for him started upon their first interaction, telling him that seeing him completely beaten up reminded her of her first love and how they looked exactly alike. Finally telling him that she wants to become exactly like Midoriya, and to do so, she wants to suck his blood. Midoriya, stunned at her proposal, tells her that this is not how couples should conduct themselves. Rather that they should go to amusement parks together as well as hold hands and eat crepes. Further telling Toga that being a couple is like being one in the same. Ochaku, now trying to warn Midoriya about the second impact of missiles, Toga asks him, "Say, hero, what do you want to do to me?" This question posed by Toga gives Ochaku flashbacks of their previous fight where Toga asked her the same question she is asking Midoriya now. With Midoriya now left to ponder Toga's question, she disappears in the smoke created by the second missile impact. Midoriya, seeing this tactic as a huge wrench in his close quarter approach, readies himself for her assault. Trying to reason with her, he tells the now enraged Toga that he too wanted to be just like All Might, but in doing so was also an insurmountable task, letting her know that he understands the desire to aspire to be someone you look up to. With Midoriya's final words to Toga tells her that he could never become one and the same with someone who aspires to hurt people she cares about. With these words spoken to her, Toga completely snaps. Toga now charging in at both Ochaku and Midoriya while shouting the heroes' perspective views. With the three now ensnared in battle, both Midoriya and Ochaku try to reason with Toga, but at this point Toga is past the point of words, telling both of them that her fixation for the both of them is no more, and now she wants nothing more than to cast them away as they, as well as society, have done to her. Toga, getting a blindsided stab on Ochaku, is immediately repelled by Froppy, with Midoriya using Black Whip to create a distance between them. Midoriya, surprised with Froppy's appearance, reassures him by telling him that this isn't the time to discuss romance, and for Midoriya to leave the rest to them. Midoriya, still a little hesitant of Froppy's claims, is told by Ochaku to deal with Shigaraki. Toga, finally recovering from her previous attack, prepares for another attempt at the heroes. We end the chapter off with a final panel of Midoriya heading towards Shigaraki. Will Midoriya be able to make it in time? And will both Ochaku and Froppy be able to overcome the now love-blind Toga? And alright guys, that is going to go ahead and wrap up the synopsis portion of the chapter. Now we're going to go ahead and head on over into my overall review and thoughts on the chapter as a whole. And guys, was this chapter absolutely fire? I know I've seen a lot of people, I just want to go ahead and get this out of the way sort of very firstly in this sort of thought section of the video. I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed in this chapter. Now personally for me, I feel as though this chapter was really great. I really like this chapter just because these last few chapters have been giving Toga just such a big spotlight. I just really like how Hirokoshi's just making sure to really push Toga in these last chapters, just because mainly for me, I've never been sort of like as high on Toga as like a lot of other people in the community. When I say that, you have to understand, I don't dislike Toga, but I never really felt as though her backstory was just too sort of like crazy, right? It was just kind of like it was kind of tame in comparison to Shigaraki's, Twice, and some of the other villains. I really have found myself really coming to love Toga in these past few chapters, especially this chapter. Now, a lot of you guys may think I'm a little weird for this, but I feel as though certain portions and certain things characters say, just one quote from a character will immediately make me like them, or, you know, change my view on them, just because narrative to me is just so impactful, especially in like anime and manga and just really in life. I just feel as though the narrative between Toga when she gets enraged towards Midoriya and Ochaku is just, it's too good. My favorite quote from her is like the quote that absolutely just like made me just like Toga's like actually crazy, is when she says, if the world did nothing but reject me, then I'm entitled to do the same. Like that, you know, that's pain right there. That's like something you can feel. That's like tangible pain. Like you can just feel like Toga, just her resentment towards the world just for not really giving her a fair shake. In a lot of instances, I feel like her backstory is very akin to Shigaraki's, or I would say there's a lot of similarities, but with Toga, society really gave up on her, right? Like society, she's a villain, not because she really has like a villain mindset or really wants to be evil. That's just kind of what she knows, right? That her instinct and what she wants contradicts what society wants, so therefore she's a villain. And I find that very intriguing, and especially with her, with that quote I just read, how like she thinks she's entitled to do the same to society if it did it to her. So that was a very powerful quote for me, and when I read that, I got goosebumps. That was really, really good by Horikoshi to give Toga a lot of narrative in this past few chapters, really. Now, shifting away from Toga, I am really curious as to how Froppy and Ochaku are going to handle Toga. Now, my prediction still stands. I do think Toga will eventually, I think her eyes will be opened and she will switch sides. Now, whether or not she does it very soon, or kind of like they win against Toga, she retreats somehow, and then like does it that way, I'm still not sure. But I really am interested and intrigued to see how this plays out. These last chapters have really had a huge, sharp emphasis on Toga, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out ultimately. Now, very much so, I am very interested to see how it plays out with Shigaraki as well as Dabi, really all the villains, to be honest, because I wonder if Dabi will end up sort of switching sides. Now, if Dabi does switch sides, I sort of have a different sort of prediction for that. I feel as though he'll switch sides, but it'll kind of be like a farewell switch sides, if you understand what I'm talking about. Like, he'll go out in a blaze of glory to like do damage towards the villains and like all for one. So I'm not quite sure how they're gonna do that, but overall, I'm each chapter has me super intrigued for the next. So that's very good for Horikoshi. I feel like these chapters with the second part of the war now being underway is really engaging. I like how it's just all non-stop. Even last chapter, which I know got heavy criticism because, well, I think it got a little bit too much heavy criticism just because it dropped alongside the One Piece chapter that everybody was going crazy over. So it just kind of couldn't hold a candle to that. But overall, I think these chapters have been super, super good. Now, my rating on this chapter out of 10 would be a solid 9 out of 10. It was a really, really solid, great chapter. The one thing holding the chapter back from being a 10 out of 10, now personally for me would be let me just yeah, you have to excuse me. I'm taking a look at the chapter here. I would have liked to see just a little bit more for Midoriya. Midoriya seemed very passive in his in this fight against Toga. Now I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh well, you know, that's because his danger sense was hindered. He couldn't like tell where she was. He was very blindsided. Now I feel as though that's a valid criticism, but why didn't he use Float? Why didn't he use All Might's predecessor's float ability? That could have easily helped out with all the smoke. I feel as though he could have gotten a great he could have been good advantageously towards that, or maybe he doesn't have too good of a grip on the quirk yet, but I would have to assume so, right? He's had an adequate amount of time of training with it, but other than that, I feel like the chapter was overall just a solid chapter. No complaints from me, other than like maybe Midoriya could have did a little bit more, but then again, maybe he was just a little caught off guard with Toga's confessions towards him and just everything going on. So, because that is Midoriya, right? He does get blindsided pretty easily, especially with words, and he does think a lot with his heart instead of his head. So, yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this chapter review, guys. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comment section below. I really do love reading your guys' theories and what you thought about the chapters, as well as what you guys think is going to happen in upcoming chapters. Now, personally for me, you guys, if you guys don't know already, I'm really holding out hope for Mirio, Lemillion to come back. I'm not quite sure when Horikoshi is going to put him back in, but I'll tell you what, when he does, like, I'm going to be like screaming my head off, because Mirio is my favorite character in My Hero, so I just can't wait to see his inclusion in this in the second part of the war, because I mean, I don't see why they would not have him in here. He's literally one of the strongest heroes, so, and having his quirk back, there's nothing really he should be like saved for, right? So that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for me, guys. If you guys did like today's video, it would be greatly appreciated if you consider sticking around and subscribing, as it greatly helps out the channel. And that's going to be all for me, guys. I hope to see you guys in my next video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See ya.